Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today's video is my attempt to express wisdom and understanding to who is truly behind all of the psychops and real-time false flag events that are indiscriminately taking place across the globe. Or should I say, that is what they want you to believe. For fear of the alphabet, boys, I will only touch enough of the subject to tweak your perception on today's world events. For this video, I must think like a Christian and read the back of the article first. Why? Because I think what will be said is so, well, startling and matter of fact, you will not believe it unless I prove it's real first. Saying that, I will get directly to the information. According to Wikipedia, under Operation Gladio, subtitle, Gladio Operations in NATO Countries, first publicly revealed in Italy. Quote, the Italian NATO stay-behind organization, dubbed Gladio, was set up under Minister of Defense 1953 through 1958, Palladio Tavares supervision. Gladio's existence came to public knowledge when Prime Minister Giulio Andreotti revealed it to the Chamber of Deputies under oath on October 24, 1990. Although far-right terrorist Vercinio something had already revealed its existence during his 1984 trial. According to media analyst Edward S. Herman, personal quote, both the President of Italy, Francesco Cossiga, and Prime Minister Giulio Andreotti had been involved in the Gladio organization and cover-up. Under Giulio Andreotti, 1990 revelation, quote, Christian Democrat Prime Minister Giulio Andreotti publicly recognized the existence of Gladio on October 24, 1990. Andreotti spoke of a, quote, structure of information, response, and safeguard with arms caches and reserve officers. He gave to the Commissione Strategiche, the parliamentary commission led by Senator Giovanni Pellegrino, in charge of investigations on bombings committed during the years of lead in Italy, a list of 622 civilians who, according to him, were part of Gladio. Andreotti, let me spell it for you. Andreotti also stated that 127 weapons cache had been dismantled and said that Gladio had not been involved in any of the bombings committed from the 1960s through 80s. Andreotti declared that the Italian military services had joined in 1964 the Allied Clandestine Committee created in 1957 by the U.S., France, Belgium, and Greece, and which was in charge of directing Gladio's operation. According to Andreotti, the stay-behind organization set up in all of Europe did not come under broad NATO supervision until 1959. All right, under General Saravel's statement, quote, General Gerardo Saravel, who commanded the Italian Gladio from 1971 through 1974, related that, personal law, in the 1970s, the members of the CPC, which is Coordination and Planning Committee, were the officers responsible for the secret structures of Great Britain, France, Germany, Belgium, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and Italy. Stop! Is it just a coincidence? Each country, with the exception of Luxembourg, absolutely postcard perfect in the wintertime, mind you. They got the train that skirts the snow-capped mountains and all. It's absolutely beautiful. All of these are nations who have had recent terror attacks. I think my boy would say Interesting. But let's continue. Quote, these representatives of the secret structure met every year in one of the capitals. At the stay-behind meetings, representatives of the CIA were always present. They had no voting rights and were from the CIA headquarters of the capital in which the meeting took place. Members of the U.S. Forces European Command were present, also without voting rights. Next to the CPC, a second secret command post was created in 1957, the Allied Clandestine Committee, the ACC. According to the Belgian Parliamentary Committee on Gladio, the ACC was, personal law, responsible for coordinating the stay-behind networks in Belgium, Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, Holland, Norway, United Kingdom, and the United States. During peacetime, the activities of the ACC, personal law, included elaborating the directives for the network, developing its clandestine capabilities, and organizing bases in Britain and the United States. In wartime, it was to plan stay-behind operations in conjunction with SHAPE, S-H-A-P-E. We'll get to that a little later. General Saravelli declared to the Commissione Strategici, headed by Senator Giovanni Pellegrino, that the Italian Gladio members trained at the military base in Britain. Example, I can go on and on with the different nations and their official statements under oath of this secret government. I want to finish proving it's real with one last confession to seal the deal. Then we can see what Gladio actually is and does. Let's continue with the article. Quote, in 1978, William Colby, former director of the CIA, released his memoirs in which he described the setting up of stay-behind armies in Scandinavia. Personal law. The situation in each Scandinavian country was different. Norway and Denmark were NATO allies. Sweden held to their neutrality that had taken them through 2 world wars, and Finland were required to defer in its foreign policy to the Soviet power directly on its borders. Thus, in one set of these countries, the governments themselves would build their own stay-behind nets, counting on activating them while exiled to carry on the struggle. These nets had to be coordinated with NATO's plan. What? These nets had to be coordinated with NATO's plans. Their radios had to be hooked to a future exile location, and the specialized equipment had to be secured from CIA and secretly cached in snowy hideouts for later use. In other sets of countries, CIA will have to do the job alone or with, at best, unofficial local help. Since the politics of those governments barred them from collaborating with NATO and any immediate protest from the local communist press, Soviet diplomats and loyal Scandinavians who hoped that neutrality or non-alignment would allow them to slip through a Third World War unharmed. Example, wow, whatever Gladio is one bad mother sucker and is under NATO's control. Well, let's see if we can finally connect the dots to all of these terror attacks in NATO countries and why it seems no one or only the patsy gets caught afterwards. Starting at the beginning of the article now. Quote, Operation Gladio is a code name for a clandestine North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, stay-behind operation in Italy during the Cold War. Its purpose was to prepare for and implement armed resistance in the event of a Warsaw Pact invasion and conquest. although Gladio specifically refers to the Italian branch of the NATO stay-behind organization. Operation Gladio is used as an informal name for all of them, all right, under post-war creation. Quote, after World War II, the UK and the US decided to create stay-behind paramilitary organizations with the official aim of countering a possible Soviet invasion through sabotage and guerrilla warfare behind enemy lines. Armed caches were hidden, escape routes prepared, and loyal members recruited. Whether in Italy or in other European countries, its clandestine sales were to stay behind in enemy-controlled territories and to act as resistance movements, conducting sabotage, guerrilla warfare, and assassinations. The stay-behind armies were created with the experience and involvement of former SOE officers, following Giulio Andretti's October 1990 revelation. General Sir John Hackett, 1910 through 1997, former Commander-in-Chief of the British Army on the Rhine, declared on November 16, 1990, that a contingency plan involving stay-behind and resistance in depth was drawn up after the war. The same week, Sir Anthony Farrar Hockley, 1924 through 2006, former Commander-in-Chief of NATO's forces in Northern Europe from 1972 to 1982, declared to The Guardian that a secret arms network was established in Britain after the war. NATO's stay-behind organizations were never called upon to resist the Soviet invasion. According to a November 13, 1990 Reuters cable, Andre Moyer, a former member of the Belgian Military Security Service and of the stay-behind network, said, personal law, Gladio was not just anti-communist, but was for fighting subversion in general. Let me say that again. Gladio was not just anti-communist, but was for fighting subversion in general. He added that his predecessor had given Gladio 142 million francs, which is $4.6 million, to buy new radio equipment. Example, I am going to stop there for many reasons, but I bid you to take a look at the information for yourselves. Plain and simple, the reason why the terrorists are able to pull off these attacks without suspicion is because they are home-born operatives outside of the host country's jurisdiction, so to speak. Question, am I the only person to notice, with the exception of Turkey, a nation that is desperately trying to get into the EU, mind you, are the only Muslim countries with membership in NATO, which Turkey is the only country, Muslim country with membership in NATO. So, wait a minute. We got NATO members fighting non-NATO members under the guise of non-NATO members' affiliation with terrorism. Interesting. But wait! The non-NATO members have and are currently invading non-NATO members' nations, withdrawing, and we see civil unrest suddenly creep in, where there was never a problem before. Interesting. Sounds to me like the purpose for invading non-NATO member nations at this point is to organize a stay-behind unit that can roam free in the country without detection for future assignments. Sounds like to me the NATO members are programming their citizens against non-NATO members with acts of terror. How? By posing as non-NATO members. Hey, wait! Just like the brown and silver shirts did at the beginning of fascism. Go figure. I believe this is the group Kennedy was talking about when he said, quote, For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into a building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned. No rumor is printed. No secret is revealed. Example, is this the real reason why Kennedy was killed? Thank you for looking at this video. And for obvious reasons, I'm out of here. Look for the next.